The Pension Crisis by Alex Merced. In previous generations, it was very typical, whether you were a private or a public sector worker, to be promised a defined benefit pension as your retirement benefits. The way this would work is that you were promised a set benefit at retirement, usually a percentage of the average salary you made the last few years you were at the job. In order to fund the ability to pay you this annual benefit when you retire, actuarial contributions had to be made, meaning they had to hire an actuary every year to calculate how much money needs to be in the pension fund, which makes you your pension payments. Variables that you'd use to make this calculation is your retirement age. So assuming that you will retire at a particular age, that's when they're going to begin paying you. Then they would take into consideration your life expectancy, because that's when they're going to stop paying you. So we'll be paying you from the day you retire to the day that you die. And the other main variable was the discount rate, the assumption of how much money the money put aside in the pension fund will generate when invested in the market. The more money the market generates, the less money employers have to put into these pension funds. Now, in the 1980s, when you had much higher interest rates, a rate of 7 or 8% was fairly prudent, but as interest rates have fallen, this has become a more optimistic and not prudent number to use. Many private sector pensions have dropped their discount rates to 4 or 5% because of the current market environment, although many public sector pensions have not. The result is that every year contributions are based on an optimistic scenario, meaning not enough money is actually placed into the pension fund itself, and the fund itself oftentimes doesn't meet its benchmark, so falls quicker and quicker behind. The result is that the money in these funds, when projected out based on current assumptions, are not able to meet the future liabilities. This gap is referred to as the unfunded liability. To add insult to injury, not only are we falling behind because of bad market assumptions, but also just the increase in life expectancy from generation to generation is causing payouts to be much larger than many of these pensions projected. In the private sector, as these contributions that are necessary grow and grow, it puts the employer at risk and sometimes even causes them to go bankrupt. Due to the nature of the public sector, oftentimes bankruptcy isn't an option. So often the result is to tax more and more. The problem with increasing taxation to meet these obligations is that it hurts the local economy, actually hurting tax revenues, and oftentimes can prompt people to leave the local city or neighborhood or county. The other option is to cut spending, which often results in cutting of services that people want, such as police departments, fire departments, seeing actual locations close in order to pay for the retirement benefits of previous employees. Closing down fire and police departments result in slower response times, which can cost lives, but also reducing the pay for new police and new firefighters in order to pay for old ones results in the inability to actually hire police and firefighters. Making the public sector situation even worse is the fact that the politics of this issue oftentimes does not want to solve the issue because there's financial interest at play. While again, in the private sector, eventually there'll be a failure of the company if these situations aren't resolved, and despite having certain backstops like the Pension Benefit Guarantee Corporation, it still results in all parties being hurt. But in the public sector, this problem can get pretty bad before anyone is really faced with the music. So what are some possible solutions? The first step has to be to let new employees be able to pay into an alternative retirement structure, one that'll benefit them more than trying to fund one that's not even working for the people from before. So there are some models when you take a look at the alternative Social Security that Galveston, Texas has, or the retirement model of Chile. You'll find some interesting models for how we can at least offer a reform or alternatives to these employees. By altering the discount rate in existing defined benefit pensions, you could result in a more sound program over time. It may mean bigger contributions in the short run, but it'll mean smaller contributions in the long run as you're putting in more than you need instead of less than you need, resulting in much better projections in the future. The larger problem at the end of the day is we all have to realize that the only true certainty is uncertainty, and that regardless of whatever plans we make, we should always plan for them not to go the way we expect them to. No matter what good tidings are coming your way or benefits you think you've earned, you should always plan on what happens if you're not going to get them. So that way, no matter what happens, you can proceed with a comfortable life that you're happy with because you're in control. Learn more by visiting the following websites: Libertarian101.com, LearnEconomicsNow.com, and BitcoinBlockchainCrypto.com. Also make sure to follow me on social media.